Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Today I'm going to be talking about another Give Yourself Goosebumps book, which of course is like a choose-your-own-adventure type book. For anybody who likes that kind of thing, this might be up your alley, it might not be. I wouldn't recommend starting with this one though. This particular book is Give Yourself Goosebumps number 18, Attack of the Beastly Babysitter. This cover, it's not very good. The book itself is just okay. I didn't love the book, I didn't hate the book at all. The book was just a fun, silly, wild, weird adventure. It really was a weird thing. Like right here you have the rat person, the rat babysitter, I guess is the beastly babysitter. That's pretty much a big chunk of the book, is rat people. The book itself, of course, to be spoiler free, I talked about the rat people already. The babysitter being a rat person. This book is, again, just okay. I hate to feel so weird when I'm doing this video, but it's not really anything to be really super excited about. It was just a decent book. You ever read a book that you didn't really have any enormous amounts of feelings towards? You just had a decent, fun time to keep you occupied. That's kind of what this book was for me. It wasn't super adventurous. At points it was kind of a little... at certain points, if I had a book, or one of the Give Yourself Goosebumps books for that matter, which I think are confirmed to not be written by R.L. Stine. I could be wrong by that. But I think that's what I heard somewhere along the line, is that it's pretty much confirmed that he didn't write these. But most of the time with the Give Yourself Goosebumps books, from what I've read, they typically feel like the classic 62-book series from back in the day in the 90s. With the regular R.L. Stine stuff that he potentially wrote all of them. I'm not really sure, but maybe he did. This one does not feel like that. The writing style, it's kind of close, but it doesn't feel consistent. It doesn't feel... It feels like mimicry to me. It doesn't feel as good as most of the Give Yourself Goosebumps books. It doesn't feel full, you know? It feels almost like something is lacking in certain areas. Certain things aren't described a certain way. You know, I know that sounds weird for people who are coming to the channel, probably never seen a video from me or never heard of Give Yourself Goosebumps or anything. But I'm trying to address the fact that this feels like R.L. Stine did not write it, regardless of whether he was involved or not. Just thought I'd throw that out there a little bit as to one of my bigger nitpicks with the book. It doesn't feel like a lot of the Give Yourself Goosebumps books, but at the same time, this is a big, silly adventure. You and your brother that you've named Stinko, you two are waiting for your mom's babysitter that she brought in for you two, even though you claim that you don't need a babysitter. And the babysitter gets here, and it's not the same name. I think the original name was supposed to be Mary Ellen, like the doll from Bride of the Living Dummy. But it turns out this girl's name is Zoe, that's supposed to be babysitting you guys. She comes from a place called Kids Care, and that's a cool little thing to do with that, because it's Kid Scare instead of Kids Care. I thought it was kind of neat and kind of punny, you know? But anyway, this babysitter is very odd, and she kind of has like this whole determination to get you and your brother to decide on whether you want to have fun or play games. Not like board games or video games, but just activity games. Or do you want to just have fun, like go on a small adventure type thing? And it's okay. Either choice really leads you down a really weird rabbit hole. Just kind of keeps going for a long period of time. This book was not super engaging, you know? It has this weird thing too. One of the ways that you decide to do certain things in this book, like you'll flip coins, because some of these books they'll be like, at the bottom of the page of course they'll tell you to have a choice between go to page such and such for this choice A, go to such and such other page for choice B. In this book, sometimes, a lot of the time actually, they'll have you flip a coin. There was one that I thought was pretty cool. It was like, go over, it's like in your book, you're kind of in your story at one point, you might be hanging off the edge of a cliff, for example, and you had to put a penny on the side of a table and try to like flip it, and if it went off the table, then you went off the cliff. If it was like, it landed nowhere near the end of the table on the other end of the table when you flipped it, then you don't have to, you know, go off the edge. You get different choices that way. You know, I thought that was kind of cool. But one of the bigger things that they do with this book is in the very back, on the very last page, 136, there's this thing called the Fun and Games Spinner. And you basically have to close your eyes and just kind of wobble your finger around and just land wherever, and then that's your choice that you would go for that particular storyline. Now me, I read the whole book. I use tons of bookmarks and I read the entire book because that's what I think should be done to review Give Yourself Goosebumps, Choose Your Own Adventure type stuff. And the spinner, it seems pretty important from the very beginning of the book. They've mentioned that like almost immediately in the book, as soon as you have to make your choice about the fun and games thing. I think you use the spinner maybe 3 times in the entire book. 130 something pages and you use it like 3 times and that's it. It was a little bit of a sloppy book. It felt like, again, mimicry of something else that R.L. Stine had come up with that was kind of clever in another Give Yourself Goosebumps book. You know, certain books you'll have like items that you can collect throughout the book to use, which that's also a feature here at points, but there was a certain book, I think it was the Escape from the Circus of Fear or whatever it was, where when you started up you had to pick like 3 or 4 different items, and that was the item and tool that you had throughout that entire story. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was unique, it made the story fun, it made it very much more engaging and very, very interesting in my opinion. It was a little hard to track what I had, but still, I read the whole book, didn't matter. This book, it doesn't really have the most satisfying endings, I would say, out of all the endings. A lot of them are very comedic. The whole book is very comedic for that matter, which is fine. I like that. Again, it's a very silly-natured book about rat people and the babysitter possibly being tied to that, and kind of a weird Chuck E. Cheese place on the first half of the book if you go with the fun, and you're going to like these ball pits and stuff like they have at Chuck E. Cheese, for anybody who knows what Chuck E. Cheese is. That part was probably the more fun part of the book. And Zoe was interesting, the babysitter, the stuff that she was doing, but she's not as involved with the story. A lot of that portion of the book, if you go with the fun route, about the ball pits and the Chuck E. Cheese type thing, a lot of it's a chase. You're either chasing after your brother trying to save him, or you're being chased by Zoe and rat people. A lot of the endings were actually very comedic, like I said. There was really, out of all the endings in this book, maybe one that I thought was really satisfactory. One that was actually the good ending, I would say, which all of these books pretty much have the one real ending, right? And this one kind of had just one that really actually felt satisfying and felt kind of complete, you know? The adventure was not so much engaging or interesting all that much, but let's talk about the other side of the thing. If you choose to play games instead of have fun, Zoe disappears. You actually get a new guy named Dare who has all these tattoos all over his body. And the tattoos actually are alive. They move around and stuff on his skin. Interesting concept, and I don't think at the same time it's done very well. It doesn't feel like R.L. Stine. It doesn't feel like Goosebumps, especially in that half of the book. And there's this whole thing with the different games that Dare wants to play with you and your brother. And it's not very good, in my opinion. It wasn't really... That was probably the most least engaging part of the book, I would say, is the Dare portion with the games and stuff. But overall, the book was fine. It was just okay. Very average. Very, very average. And I hate to say that because, you know, I've read like 15 of these Give Yourself Goosebumps books, whether it be the regular ones or the special edition versions. I've read a lot of these, about 15 of them now. And I think I have a more than enough grasp on what they should feel like and what they typically do feel like a lot of the time. I've enjoyed probably at least over 10, maybe close to 11 or 12 of the 15 books and liked them a lot, and I really appreciated them and had fun with them. This is one of the ones that I had fun at times, but it wasn't all that great. It was nowhere near like the little comic book shop of horrors or whatever it was. The one with the Lizard King guy on the front that was so great. I love that book. It's probably my favorite of all the Give Yourself books at this point. But yeah, this was just a very bland, very... I hate to use that word because the Give Yourself Goosebumps books are typically very, very creative and very fun, almost always. And even the bad books have their moments that are really good. And that's what this one was. It was a mostly bland book, not a bad book, but a bland book that had some really good, great, even, moments to it. That's really all I can say about it. I hate to have kind of a disappointing review to have up on here, but that's really all I felt. The cover's kind of lackluster. The book itself is kind of lackluster. That's just how it is. What are your thoughts on Give Yourself Goosebumps number 18, Attack of the Beastly Babysitter, excuse me. Why is there a hyphen in babysitter? Who does that? Who does that? Seriously. Anyway, Attack of the Beastly Babysitter, what are your thoughts? Put your thoughts and comments down below about the book, about my review, about the Give Yourself Goosebumps series. What do you think about all this stuff, guys? I would love to hear your thoughts because I just like talking to you guys about stuff like Give Yourself Goosebumps. What'd you think about all the rat people stuff? That was a lot of that Zoe storyline. And I mean, a lot of the endings in this book are focused on that. It was real weird. I just did not enjoy that as much, I guess. Anyway, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. It's very close to being a 2, just because the whole second half of the book with the games section was so lackluster and even felt like it wasn't completely full in the writing of it. Got a little lost a couple of points. I was like, how did we end up in like the forest all of a sudden and stuff like that? Very odd. Pay attention while you read this one. You might get a little lost. I just said that if I read Goosebumps as an adult, that I could get lost. It's happened before, Into the Jaws of Doom. I read that one time and it happened. I have that on record. I did an 18-minute long video on that in case you want to check that one out. Anyway, 3 out of 5 stars. It's kind of a low 3 out of 5 stars, but just, it's a basic, decent, okay book. I don't love it. I certainly don't hate it. It's just, it's silly. That's what it is. And that's fine. I'm cool with that. It seems like it wasn't well executed, as well as it could have been. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy weekend if you're watching this on the weekend. As I posted, it's Saturday. So, anyway, may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.